name's Debbie Ireland and I'm from New Zealand, and I'm very proud to be hosting the International SharePoint Community Panel for SharePoint TV. So I'm going to get these guys to introduce themselves, but it's pretty cool that we actually have 6 MVPs here today, 2 of which are MCAs and MCMs, if that's not enough acronyms for you. And we're representing 5 different countries from around the world. All of us do lots of community contribution and effort and so forth. So let's hear a little bit about that. I'm going to start with you, Spence, if you want to just...
Thanks, Debbie. Thanks very much for having me on the show. My name's Spencer Harbour. I'm a MCA and MVP from Edinburgh in Scotland. Been working with the UK user group for about 10 years, helping out on the fringes and working with the individual user group leaders in the UK.
All right, hi, my name is Tobias Zimmergren. I'm from Sweden. I'm a SharePoint MVP as well. I've been working with SharePoint for a long time, and we started our user group, the Sweden SharePoint user group, together with Victor here back in 2007. So we do a lot of community work with the user group and other online events as well. So I guess we'll talk more about that as we move on.
Hello, I'm Tony Francola from Croatia, Europe. I'm running the SharePoint user group in our country, organizing events and helping people to understand what SharePoint can do for them.
Yeah, I'm Victor Wilén from Sweden, MCA and MVP, and started the user group together with Tobias and our third MVP at that time for SharePoint, Björn Husman, the user group, where I run the Stockholm parts and Tobias the southern part of Sweden, and try to divide it up like that.
I'm Veronique Palmer from South Africa. We have SharePoint technical and business communities down there in 3 regions, which we hold on a monthly basis. And they're very successful. We've been going for about 5 years now.
Awesome. And just a little bit on New Zealand, we have about 5 different user groups across New Zealand, and Australia has, I think, 7. So lots of different user groups down under as well. I guess the next thing is a little bit about the type of events that you have in your region. So do you have paid events, free events, SharePoint Saturdays? What sort of thing happens in the UK?
Yeah, so in the UK, the majority of the user group meetings are free events. We try and avoid vendor sponsorship or fees for attendees. There is a SharePoint Saturday as well, which is roughly twice a year, and that's a paid event. We've been doing that for 2 years now. That's actually quite a new thing. The general user group meetings are usually free attendance, and some generous person will do the food and things like that for the attendees without any kind of exposure for doing that. And that's worked quite well over the last 5 years. Certainly, it's been very much the feedback we've had from the attendees that they want to keep it that way and have predominantly evening events in the UK. So that makes it easier for most of the attendees to show up rather than doing something during the day and working hours or at the weekends. So we also do a conference in London every year, which is quite tightly related to the community. That, of course, is a paid event as well, but predominantly free events.
All right, so yeah, in Sweden we do a lot of the user groups up in Stockholm and Malmö. And most of the events are sponsored by a company which gets about 5 minutes to talk about themselves and introduce themselves, and all the companies are obviously working with SharePoint as well. So they get about 5 minutes to talk about themselves, and they will sponsor food and drinks and the place where we actually hold the events as well. And that's working out very well for us. We never charge anything for our events. It's always free, and we'd like to keep it that way. So we're actually attracting quite a huge crowd now. Starting up in 2007, we had 15 people in our first meeting, and we're up to an average of between 50 and 75 per meeting, which is quite fun. So yeah, it's happening, and SharePoint is growing, and our user group is growing, and the awareness of SharePoint in our region is growing, and that's really something that we can see shine through to the user group events as well, because more and more people we recognize are showing up to the same meeting after meeting after meeting. So we're really growing a really cool community in Sweden. So.
We decided to start a user group. I think it was just after the SharePoint 2009 conference when SharePoint 2010 was announced. And we have been running monthly events ever since, in 3 years. of constant monthly events. As we are a touristic country, we don't do events during summer, so it's just during winter. And this is the first time we are having a conference, like small regional conference for SharePoint, and we are having people from 6 or 7 countries in our region, which is like a good thing for a first-time conference.
When's that conference?
Our conference is in 2 weeks.
Oh, wow.
2 weeks in Zagreb, Croatia.
Very cool.
Yeah, to continue where Tobias ended, the user group is driving really well now, and we always have sell out in 24 hours or so, and have a long waiting list of people.
Wow.
And that's basically what we have. It's a user group. We have one larger event every year. That's a paid event or a conference, a SharePoint Exchange conference. But the user groups are in the evenings just as Spence having in UK at, as Tobias said, a consultancy or a ISV or somebody host the event. And we don't have any SharePoint Saturdays, and I don't think that Sweden is all ready for that yet, actually. Or at least we don't have time to plan for that right now. But with the momentum of SharePoint right now, we had 3 or 4 events just recently that was really crowded and really fun to have so much people there.
Okay, so our first event was also just about 6 people, similar type of story. We cruise around 50 to 60 people every month. Originally it was just one user group. It was called Information Worker. And then we decided to split it between a technical and a business user group because we were getting a lot more business people coming in. So now we have Information Worker and we have SharePoint Business Workshops. And they run at the same time. They're hosted at Microsoft's premises every month. And they run in Durban and Johannesburg and Cape Town. So Durban has just come online now. Brand new, kind of hot off the press. So we're trying to grow it into all of the regions because they're feeling a little bit left out. None of our events are paid for events, but Microsoft does sponsor the venue. And we have things called community nights that Microsoft has once a month in Johannesburg. So they have a whole bunch of communities, the SQL communities and gaming communities and everything, and plus the SharePoint communities in there as well. And then they give us free drinks and snacks afterwards. And then plus we also have SharePoint Saturday, Johannesburg and Cape Town. So yeah, the next one will be in Johannesburg in June 2013.
Cool. And this is a question for any of you really. Is anyone doing anything with online, so live meetings or trying to get people that rather than the in-person stuff?
Yeah, I mean, we've discussed that quite a number of times in the UK. I mean, we have, for each region in the UK has got its own sort of user group lead, and we've split it up that way. And for some regions that can make a lot of sense, especially Scotland, where travel is quite difficult to get to the central belt for those who aren't there. So we've thought about that. We haven't done it yet. We tried a few experiments by helping out other communities over here in the US by co-presenting at their event over a live meeting or similar. And so that's something we're going to think about more next year when we sort of ramp up in the new year. So we'll probably try a couple of remote presentations and see how they go, test the water, very much like we did with the face-to-face user groups originally. It's a question of starting small and obviously seeing how it goes and really getting the feedback from the community itself, because it's not for us to make that decision, it's more for our community members to say what they prefer, and then we try and do what will fit for them. Certainly in the south of the UK, so London and the southeast, there wouldn't be much point because it's quite easy for everybody to get to the location. But for some of the more remote parts, that would be a good idea. So we'll definitely give it a try and see what happens.
It could make sense, but I think if people could be too lazy not showing up at the events if it posted online. But in Sweden we have very long distances, so of course it could make sense to have online meetings like that.
We had one event in New Zealand, I think it was the launch of 2010, and we had the GenI officers had the whole video conferencing thing, so we had people turn up in 3 different locations and then join them all together, and that was kind of cool. So yeah, but you've got to have the sponsor or someone that can do that sort of thing.
It takes more logistics as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So what about challenges? Are there any big challenges you see with your community?
Yeah, I'd say that the main challenge for us is, first of all, finding time. That's a challenge for, I guess, any community. But actually, nailing the sessions in terms of what audience we want. So mostly when we started off, we did like architecture and development and very technical heavy sessions. And the community is actually growing to be a more business-aware community, and a lot of people want to see the end-user stuff and the business user stuff and the decision-maker stuff as well. So I guess it might not be a huge challenge, but what we're seeing now is a shift in the sessions we want to do and want to see. So basically what we are not struggling with, but what we're taking into account is to find a good balance between these sessions. And if we choose one business track and one end user track for one event, we're going to lose all the developers. Yeah. If we do one dev track and one IT pro track, we're going to maybe miss out on all the decision makers. So I think the balance between session and what kind of audience we should focus on could be, you know, not an issue, but we're struggling finding a good balance, I think. Yeah. And maybe the solution to that is actually to have a dedicated event for, you know, a specific audience. I don't know, but we're thinking about that. And obviously, if anyone has suggestions on how to fix this, either from anyone in the community listening or any of you guys, we'd be happy to take it on and see what we can do with it.
What about splitting it? Like,
well, that's exactly what we did. It's exactly the same challenge that we had. So originally we did 1 month business, 1 month technical, and just, but then we started losing audience because it was too long to wait. It was 2 months basically then for each community. So that's why we split it business and technical, and we ran it at the same time. And it actually works quite well because in the beginning we're all sit together in one room and we do an in the news and what's happening type of thing. And then we introduce each other's topic, and we split off into the 2 different rooms. And for a topic for the business session that we did a couple of months ago, which worked extremely well, we held something called the SharePoint Apprentice. So it's based on Donald Trump's, you know, the whole of the apprentice thing. So I got a whole bunch of executive PAs from our clients to give us a problem statement around managing board packs. So then we printed out that thing, and then we split the entire group into equal tables. We made somebody allocate a project manager, and the team leads was the judging panel. We had a Donald Trump all dressed up and all that type of thing. Then they had to come up with a solution and then present it to us, and we'd choose the winner, and the rest got fired. It was really, really fabulous. I can highly recommend it. It works like a charm. The business loves it. And what was really interesting was how different the technical tables were to the business tables, and then we had kind of mixed. And we had 3 different tables there, and there was completely different approaches at each table. It was really something to see. Try it.
Yeah. That sounds great, yeah.
I'll send you the problem statement that we had. You can just use that one.
What about challenges like, well, sponsorship? You mentioned getting sponsorship for, and you have a sponsor actually stand up. Is there anything with regard to sponsorship for free events?
Yeah, I mean, it always increasingly comes up, especially as the numbers grow. That becomes a big challenge, you know, in terms of finding an adequate venue and just being able to deal with, you know, potentially 250 people showing up at an office and the logistics there. So there's always a lingering concern that you know there's going to need to be more sort of sponsorship or involvement from, you know, the ISVs specifically in the UK. But we have a very kind of strong opinion in the community that's very much against that. And you know, even if it was just 5 minutes at the start, that would actually put off a lot of our core audience. And we've been told over and over again, you know, please don't bring that in. You know, if that means we have to do more meetings, more smaller meetings than doing large meetings, then that might help us out there. But that's certainly something that we continually sort of butt up against as the numbers increase, especially in the more popular or the more populous regions. It's not a problem for the smaller events, but certainly for places like London and the Midlands, it can be very challenging to get an adequate venue and you know, food and drinks and things like that. So
I think most people have sort of shied away from doing the whole product demo things at the user groups on purpose, but then on the other hand, we've been asked quite a bit to actually include some of them. I think if you've been using SharePoint for a while, then people are saying, well, what can we do next? So and it's an opportunity for them to see something that they might not otherwise see.
So we do one event each year in the UK, which is called a vendor night, and you know, 5 or 6 different ISVs can come and present their solution, and it's, you know, very much, it's not sold that way, but it's described that way so that everybody knows that that's the one where they'll be able to see, you know, a show and tell of the different products and so on. And also chat with those guys as well, because a lot of the, you know, the vendors are members of the community just as much as everybody else, right? And so they come along to the meetings as regular attendees. But yeah, so we do that one session each year, which is sort of clearly demarked as being a chance for them to show the products and do a bit of an exhibit.
I like that.
Yeah.
It's a great idea.
We try and balance it so it's not always the same 5 vendors each time, right? You know, you've got to have the spread.
Yeah, absolutely. So what's in it for you? I mean, we all do this. I know myself, the amount of time that it takes. So why do you continue to lead the community in your area? Should we start with you, Veronique?
Because it's the right thing to do, Debbie. They need us, don't they?
Yeah, they do.
And we love the attention. It's the right thing to do.
It's fun meeting people and talking to people, and of course I wouldn't have done it if I didn't learn something from it. Listen to someone presenting, and that's why I'm in it, to learn more things, and that's why I'm really interested in getting more business case and that kind of information to learn from that. And of course, when you're presenting, you do a lot of preparations, and that's also a learning thing. When you dig down deep to another topic you haven't focused that much on before, etc.
I guess it's so much fun because for me it's not that complicated. Unlike you other guys, we really have great support from Microsoft Croatia. They provide everything for us, so I don't need to think about any kind of logistics, venues, meals, or anything. So they really do great support for us. So for me, it's just like I need to find speakers, and then they need to spread the knowledge they have about a particular topic to attendees that are coming. And it's always somebody that says, wow, I was not aware that SharePoint or any other Microsoft technology can do that. And it's just great to see that people are learning from user group events.
You know, I think for myself, it's like you say, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of hours every week going down into doing community work, and for some people that's a reasonable amount of hours going down. And for me, it's more about learning myself, because every hour I put down into the community, I always get the double back. And since we started our user group, for example, the first few events we did very technical heavy sessions, and we did them ourselves. But after a while, other people wanted to come in and do sessions and speak, and that gave us a chance as well to actually learn a lot from, like Victor said here, from other tracks, apart from the, in my case, dev sessions, to learn more about the architecture perhaps, or the business cases and all that stuff. And so every event we have, I learn a lot about things that is not, within my area of expertise, which is basically like a free training, or call it whatever you want. So yeah, I do learn a lot by doing it, and the same goes with, personal blogging and Twitter or whatever. Whenever you post something to a blog, you always get more and more back, because people come with comments and questions and show their appreciation, and that basically gets you going even more and want to learn even more, and so you're pushing yourself as well. So it's not just about having an event and have people come there to learn. It's very much about me learning as well. So yeah, there's always something in it for me, in terms of learning.
Yeah, I'd definitely very much add to that sentiment. I mean, SharePoint is now so broad and so huge that it's very easy to kind of get stuck into tunnel vision on the project you're working on or the problem you're trying to solve, and just getting exposure to the wider usage of the product, both from the business problems it's being used to try and solve, but also the more technical side of things. And one of the main reasons I sort of got involved initially was when I started in this industry. I had nothing to do with SharePoint quite a long time ago now. There was a community there that was tremendously helpful to me, and if it wasn't for that community then, I probably would never have really kind of stuck with it. So it's kind of a little bit of, as you said, doing the right thing, giving back, but also a continuous learning, certainly in terms of how people are using the product and the challenges they have with it. So very valuable in that respect.
I think it's definitely addictive too. I think we've all got a passion for it, and actually as part of the international SharePoint community, all of these people here, I believe, are avid bloggers, tweeters, and so forth. So, and it brings us together, I guess, closer, would you say, as an international community, as much as we are
Absolutely,
so diverse and spread?
Yeah, I mean, none of us probably would have met if it wasn't for the kind of activities that we were doing, right? And so that in itself is the huge value, the network you create, and the fact that we can swap ideas and find out what works and what doesn't. Very valuable.
You get to build your own little community of go-to people as well, which I find, by attending all the conferences and user groups. Yeah. That's great.
There was one question on another panel earlier this week that I thought was a good one. So I just want you all to say one thing that all your Twitter followers and so forth don't know about you.
Start there.
Okay. Give us something new, Spencer.
Yeah, so probably the main thing that most people don't know about me is my dream was to be a professional cricketer, and I followed that path for a number of years until I got a very painful knee injury, and that's why I moved into IT. So if it was actually my choice, I would never have got into IT at all.
So, yeah, I don't know what to say, but I just laid out there on Twitter. So I'd probably say that one thing people don't know is that I've been doing martial arts since I was 6 years old, and I still try to do it as much as I can. You know, the community work takes over, so I'd rather sit down 5 hours, you know, writing a blog post than going and do kickboxing. Today, it wasn't the case earlier on, but you know, I'm trying to find the balance. So. I did a lot of heavy judo and kickboxing back in the days, and you know, I'm slacking off.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think my Twitter followers know that next year I'm going to become a father, so
Congratulations.
never told them that. So
Yeah.
here's
Cool.
to the world. I hope my wife doesn't come in after this.
Yeah.
Okay.
I continue the sports track I have with Spence and Tobias. I ruptured my spleen during an American football game, which was pretty bad. Yeah.
I like to just take a whole year off when I get bored of doing what I'm doing. So about 6 years ago, I sold my house, put everything into storage, packed my car full of camping equipment, and I drove. Well, the plan was to drive around South Africa and camp around the entire country. But a friend of mine was going to Namibia instead, so I went there for a 4-day trip, and I ended up staying there for a year until they chucked me out. So I ran out of visa time. Came back and started again, and then just after that, I came to the SharePoint world.
Cool. Well, thank you all for being on the
What's one thing we
dear.
don't know about you?
I did it the other day. I did it again, something new.
Too late.
I can't. My thing the other day was that I own a farm and live on 8 acres and have 14 alpacas and 15 sheep and 3 pigs and 2 goats, and it's kind of like a different side of me that you don't see at events.
Do you have a SharePoint to manage that?
It's called SharePoint. And when I said I had a farm, everyone's like, how many web applications do you have? Anyway, thank you all for being. I think that's a good
That's time to go.
finish.
Yeah, good time right here.
So thank you for being here, and on SharePoint TV, which I believe will be available later.
Elsewhere, available elsewhere.
In your hotel, Channel 7.
Is that what
Channel
channel is?
7.
I don't know.
I can't find it.
Right, then
Thanks,
I think
Debbie.
we better cut.
Okay.
Thank you.
Do I need to say something in closing?
Keep going.
Right, is there anything else you'd like to say in closing? Or thank you very much. Make sure you follow these guys on Twitter or read their blog posts, or just come and speak to us all and say hi.
I'll say what the Twitter handle is.
Oh, say your Twitter handle.
Is Harbars, so Harbars.
Mine is Zimmergren, Zimmergren.
Do I need to spell it? Ponifrankola.
Yeah, it's Victor, W-I-C-T-O-R.
That's an
At
easy.
Veronique Palmer.
And I'm at Debbie Island. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Antonio.